Hello and welcome back to another episode of Feed My Sheep. Today we're going to look at some proteins to work on the grill. We had a viewer write in and say, hey, I was at your house once and I had some wicked good chicken. Is there any way you could show me how to do that? So I thought, well, good, that'll be a nice episode. So we're going to do that today for you guys. First thing I want to say is whenever I work with poultry, be it game, pheasant, grouse, whatever, goose, duck, chicken, turkey, I like to marinate all of it in a saline solution. Saline solution is simply salt and water. The recipe is quite easy. I used it for decades making chicken for our restaurant. And from that we can make every kind of chicken under the sun. Chicken rosemary, chicken cacciatore, we made barbecued chicken, lemon pepper chicken, and so on. So all of it starts with the same foundation. When you get your proteins in from your butcher's case, right, in this case chicken, it's always going to have impurities in it, okay? So you always want to use salt to some degree to draw out impurities, to draw out any pigmentation, to draw out blood, if you would, okay? It's not blood. All the animals are bled out, but you're still going to have pigmentation, okay? Sometimes when you go out to a restaurant, you might get a chicken thigh, and when you get to eating it, it's a little bit pink around the socket, right? So I like to pop those sockets, let that salt go in there 24 hours minimum, up to 48 hours in the saline solution, and then do whatever you want with that chicken. For our case, it's going to go on the grill, okay? Salt, basic old table salt. The ratio is 1 gallon of water to a quarter cup of salt. Stir that up good, and then soak and submerge your chickens in it. I'm going to go through the process of showing you how I get them prepared for the grill. We're going to put them in that solution, 24-hour time lapse. We're going to take it from the solution, and we're going to put it right onto the grill. We're going to be focusing on indirect grilling. And there's two kinds of grilling you can do. Direct grilling is right over the open fire, okay? Be it LP, be it working with propane, campfire, charcoal, what have you. It's all the same process. If you're directly over the fire, that's direct grilling. Okay, so hamburgers, brats, hot dogs, anything of that respect would be direct grilling. Usually lends itself towards thinner meats, usually under 1/2 inch thickness. So steaks, chops, anything of that respect that you're going to put on the grill directly over the heat is going to be cooked within 5 to 10 minutes. That's your direct grilling. If anything's going to take longer than that, okay, I've indirectly cooked turkey, 20-pound turkey on the grill with the fire off to the side. So if you're making charcoal, you want to pull all your coals to the side and put your product not over the coals so that it works more like an oven. Okay, now you're going to still get those flavor profiles, the smokiness from the grilling process. You'll still get the caramelization on your skin. That's what you're looking for. Going through this process, you're still going to get the basting component of the fat going through the muscles, and it's going to not dry out your product. If you were to do this process with this whole chicken today, right over the fire, within 15 minutes you're going to have burnt skin. You're going to have a lot of dehydration because that heat's going to pull moisture, all of that. So you want to allow the product to baste itself aside of the fire. Okay? So that's all I'm going to say, the difference between indirect and direct grilling. You can play with that at home. When you're working with smoking products, doing a brisket, what have you, it's the same premise, indirect grilling. So you want to do that, okay? So we're going to start making our brine. Very, very simple. 1/4 cup of salt. I'm using a bigger kettle because I had 2 birds that I did in here. I did a pheasant and a chicken. If I were going to do 4 chickens, I could do that in this bigger pot. If you're only doing 1 bird, make it in a smaller vessel. It's not a thing, okay? I have a mason jar. That's quart. Or if you have Pyrex at home, you don't have to go out and buy measuring equipment. I've seen guys use a gallon jug of milk that they kept, and that's how they measure their gallons. So all of that works the same. We're going to use cold water. In the summer months, when it's super, super hot out, I'll add ice to this just to keep the temperature down. So 4 quarts of water, quarter cup of salt. In our business, we would do 16 to 20 chickens at a time. I would use a cup of salt to 4 gallons of water. I apologize. You would think the guy who's strong in math should have his math. All right. So, set that there. Get our chicken. This is just your basic 3.5 pound roasting chicken. Got it from the grocery store. Looking around $5.50 for the product. All right. I'd like to get to a point where I can show you guys how to break down all these chickens. I'm going to touch on it today. I'm going to do a whole episode just on breaking down livestock. That's coming. But when you're working with chicken, you want to find a spine, okay? Backside of the bird. If you learn how to do this with a chicken, which is pretty much the easiest animal to do, all two-legged carcasses are laid out the same way as far as their bone structure. So you could do this with a duck, you could do this with a goose, you can do this with a guinea, a turkey, whatever. Just know that the bigger the animal, the bigger the bones, the more difficult it's going to be to run your knife through it. What you want to learn how to do is how to find the seams, okay? All of these carcasses have natural seams. If you follow, it's quite simple to go through this deboning process. If you don't follow the seams, if you hit something, hit a hip, hit a joint, hit a thigh bone, whatever, you did not hit that channel, so back your knife up, don't force it, and try to find the channel again. My grandfather used to call this the Pope's nose. I have no idea the why or the how come, but that was his favorite part of the chicken. I just use it for the stock pot. So, you make yourself a line. You'd use your knife for this, I'll show you in a second. From the side of the Pope's nose, right side and left side, all the way up to where the neck is, all right? And that's a seam that's going to go through all cartilage that connects the ribs to the spine, connects the hip to the spine. You're going to take out that center rib, and it just pull your knife through. Again, don't saw. Pull your knife through, and you should end up getting a spine out, okay? So, how I was taught to hold a bird is you take the wing, and you put it in. If you're right hand, left hand, it's the same process. Hold tight that wing so it doesn't slide around. Then you take your other 2 fingers around the hip so you get a good solid grip on this and lay it on its side. Okay? Now if you need to make the lines, you do that prior. Take your knife and just go down each side. It's about 3/4 of an inch total to get through this. Stand it on its side. Take the heel of your knife under the tail, draw, don't saw, through, and that'll open up that cavity. Okay? Now, do the same on the other side of the tail. Draw, 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 and out comes your spine. Okay? No bones got hit in here, only cartilage. You want to keep this as thin as possible so all the meat stays on this. Okay? Then you open up your chicken, and then here's the keel bone, or the breastbone. Mostly cartilage. It's already broke, but if this were all together, all you do is turn it inside out. Take the back side of your thumb. Never dig into a chicken. Okay, you're going to get bone fragments possibly up under your fingernails. You don't want to get that infection. You want to use the back side always of your nails. Use the back side of your thumb, and you take that up. Okay? Now, our chicken is semi-processed. Once you do this and you open up all that, now this is no bones, split it. You lay your thigh down, no bones, split it, quarter chicken. Breast be another quarter chicken, right? Do the same on the other side. You can feel the seam, make a cut, draw it on saw. So now you got quarter chicken. I'm not going to do that in this episode, but I just show you the process. All right? Take off the legs, take off the wings, you got an 1/8 cut chicken. For $5, you're going to pay 3 times that probably for cut up chicken at your grocer's case. So you always want to learn how to do this process And then it's endless. You take all the bones out, you got your boneless, skinless breast, you got your boneless, skinless thigh, you got your leg quarters, whatever you want to do, you can do it from here. Okay, but for our process today, we want to put this on the grill just as it is. Okay, we want to end up taking out these kidneys out of the hip socket. Okay, that's not edible. You want to take those out. And then you want to pop this joint, like I talked about. You want to dislocate the hip, and you can hear it pop. That'll get that saline solution down inside that hip cavity and pull out all that pigmentation. So now I'm going to shut my yapper and try to let you guys hear that pop. Take out those other kidneys. Alright, maybe you heard that, maybe you did. And now this just goes like this, straight into our saline solution, 24 hours. And then we're ready to go to the grill. Alright? The pheasant I got back here basically go through the same process. Okay? This will be harder to cut than that will by far. Game birds tend to lend themselves to a little more stringiness, a little more chewiness, right? So a guinea fowl will be a little tougher. Your chicken is your easiest thing to practice on, but then you can do Cornish hens, go through the process. We're going to do the same thing. Okay? Remember, all the skeletons are laid out the same way. We're going to go underneath that tail. And again, it's going to be a little bit harder to go through. Okay? They're tougher. This one has the giblets in it yet. Don't know if you know what giblets are. There's your gizzard. There's your heart. I would guess the liver is back there too. Okay? In fact, what I'll do for you is I'm going to split this down into an 8-cut chicken. Okay? Using a pheasant. My wife loves pheasant breast sauteed in peaches. Okay? A little bit of heavy cream. I can do that down the road too. So there, I hit the shoulder blade, and that's why I wouldn't come out. Okay? Same thing interior. We're going to make a little cut right where the shoulders all come together. We're going to pop out that keel bone. And now when you're working with game birds, you got to be a little more careful, because those bones are wicked sharp. Alright, let me get that out. This one we're going to whittle. I got my editor for. Keel bone. Alright, so that all goes in the stock pot. We're going to use our onion skins, our carrot skins, we're going to use our carrot peels, we're going to go ahead and use our celery trim. All of that will go in a stock pot. We'll cook that down, make yourselves a nice stock. So now, we got our pheasant. Spine is removed, keel bone is removed. Remember I talked, there's no bones in here? Okay? Right down the seam. Come up here in the leg, right above the hip. Take it out, right down the seam. Take out those kidneys. Pop that joint. Very important you pop that joint. Same on this side. Out come the kidneys. Pop that joint. And then every single piece of poultry out there is going to have this line of fat. I hope you can see that in the video. There's a line of fat that runs inside. It's on everything. You'll see it on chicken. You'll see it on everything. You want to cut on the leg side of that, and you should hit the knuckle, right? All you're doing is cutting through cartilage and tendon. You're not hitting any bone, okay? That'll go in our stock pot. In our marinade, my apologies. Same with this one. You've got the white line of fat. Go on the leg side. Go through. The wings come off. All you got to do is stand this on end. And you're going to cut into the armpit. That'll hit the joint. As soon as it pops, you're going to turn your blade and you're going to draw it back out. Now you got your wing, your breast. Okay? Same thing. Pop. Pop. And there we go. Alright, so that all sits in the marinade for 24 hours. This will go in a pot. We're going to add our trimmings to it, my apologies, and we're going to let that simmer with cold water on it for roughly 2 to 3 hours. Reduce it down. We're going to get that gelatinous, what we're looking for. So that'll be another whole segment. We're out at the grill today at my property, and we're taking a look at grilling chickens. Previous episode, we had the process of getting the bird prepared. We have a pheasant here today we're going to grill, and we have a chicken that is still left whole. We just removed the keel bone and we removed the backbone. We use that for our stock. If you recall, we popped the hips so they're out of joint, so everything cooks to the same doneness throughout. Came out and got my grill prepared. I'm using the LP side of my unit. This also works great as a smoker. It does have a wood box on it. I love this machine. This is the second one I've purchased. Absolutely love working on this smoker. So today we're going to do it over the LP. Again, our chickens have been marinating for 24 hours in a saline brine. That mix is 1 gallon of cold water and a quarter cup of regular table salt. And we just let all the impurities pull out of that chicken. So we pulled it out of the brine. We're going to put it on our grill. Our grill is preheated to 500 degrees. And as soon as I put it on, we're going to turn the center burner off. And we're going to turn the outside burners on low. And we're going to let this process, it's going to take roughly 45 minutes. We want to get that sear going. Okay? We're not going to season this at all except for imparting some herbs. Shut my center grill off. We want to bake this now. This is a baking process. We have the 2 outside elements on. We're going to get this down to somewhere around 275 degrees from as high a heat as it was. So we're going to go from 500 down to 275. We want to maintain that. Now, depending on your weather conditions, if it's windy, it's rainy, it's cold, it's hot, you might have to come out and tweak temperatures a little bit to maintain that. But basically, we're going through a slow barbecue process in order to get this chicken to where we want it to be. Okay? I'm also going to put the pheasant on here, and I'm going to let that over the direct heat. And all I'm going to do for about 15 minutes is I'm going to crust the outside of that pheasant, and then I'm going to finish that in a braising process, utilizing some stock. I got some smoked pork stock. I'm going to slow roast that pheasant until it falls off the bone tender. Okay? Upland game birds, wild game birds, things of that nature, wild turkey, all have to be handled a bit different than your domesticated chicken. Okay? So I'm going to direct cook right over the fire to sear off our pheasant. We're indirect cooking our chicken. We're going to do that for about 45 minutes or so. So you want to put the bird on the grill with the skin up. Okay? So what happens then, all the fat that's within that skin is going to baste our chicken ongoing as that heat melts the fat, melts the fat, melts the fat. It's going to keep the rest of our chicken moist. Our breast is going to be succulent. It's going to be juicy. It works the same for turkeys. Our thighs and legs are going to maintain their juiciness because they have a lot more fat involved with the dark meat. So that whole process is going to be a very good end product. I have some fresh rosemary here out of my herb garden. We grow a lot of our own herbs. So I just pulled off 3-4 branches of rosemary. I'm going to put that over the indirect heat as well. And so that's going to infuse a flavor profile into our chicken as this goes through the roasting process. So we're back up to 450. I got to quit yapping. I got to get to cooking. I'm going to put that pheasant on, and then we're going to go through that process. Okay? You basically want to sear that chicken. You want to sear that pheasant. You want to sear that whatever you're putting on here for game. I like to fold the wings over themselves, kind of like a hammerlock, so that they're about the same size and thickness as the rest of the chicken, so it all gets done together. And we're just going to let this get happy. We're going to come check this in about 15 minutes to make sure our temperatures are right. I use my kitchen timer on my stove to make sure all this stuff gets done at the right temperatures and such. And then our chicken will be ready to go here in roughly 45 minutes. We'll sit down and eat. Alright, we just got the chickens off the grill. The pheasants are complete. It must have been a younger pheasant because for the most part it's good and tender. So I'm not going to probably braise this one. Maybe when I go through the reheating process I'll add a little moisture to it, put it in the oven in a pan covered, and then it will basically steam itself back to temperature. So we got the grill marks on there. This was indirectly grilled for 25 minutes. Put the grill marks on both sides. set it off to the side, indirect grilling in the center of the grill. So the pheasant's in a good spot. Had to do a little bit of sampling. Just this corner though. And part of this one wing. Our chicken took 45 minutes. It was around 280-ish degrees the entire process. We did this all indirect grilling as well. You can tell chicken is done by a couple of ways. First of all, you can always use a thermometer. Okay, you want to put the thermometer in the thickest part, usually the thigh. You're looking for 165 degrees internal temperature on all poultry. Okay, that includes ground poultry. I was always taught if you take the leg when it's still hot, and I don't know, this is kind of cool, and all you do is spin it, and if the bone comes out freely, your chicken is complete and cooked. Okay, so this particular one is plenty done. All you have to do again is twist it. It'll dislocate from the hip joint, and you pull, and it comes out clean. Your chicken is fully done. The other way you can tell is if you push on it. All right? If you connect your index finger, sorry, that's wrong, my thumb and my pinky, this muscle right here is considered well done. All right? So you just squeeze them together, well done. Rare, medium rare, medium, medium well, well done. Well done is what you're looking for with poultry, and done well. So if you push on it, it should feel firm, just like this. You're in a good spot. So that's the 3 ways you can tell if poultry's done. The bone comes out, it's firm, and temperature at 165 in the thickest part of the meat. Okay. Now, when you're doing an indirect grilling process, it's a slow roasting process. Okay. So anytime you roast anything, a roast, a whole loin, a turkey, a chicken, whatever, you always want to let that cool a little bit before you start carving, or you're going to end up with juice dissipating all over. All the cells have expanded. The moisture is sitting right at the threshold. As soon as you slice through those cells, all that moisture is going to release. So you want those cells to shrink and hold that moisture, so you end up with a very juicy and succulent chicken. So now at this point, all you need to do, cut this in quarters, just like I showed earlier. Okay? And then slice it off. Now you already see the juice on the board. Okay? Have to do a segment on knife sharpening here one of these times. If you can get a close-up of this, you can squeeze the juice out of this chicken, right? It ain't fat, it's not grease. All your grease is dissipated through the cooking process, melted away from the skin. Everything that's left on here is all protein, okay? A little bit of fat in the skin, but there you go. So our breasts are beautifully white, firm, juicy, succulent. Is exactly what you're looking for, okay? Earlier today we made some twice-baked potatoes. We made some rice pilaf. We're going to plate this all up, do a little presentation for you guys. And that's basically all you got to do to get this chicken. We're looking at indirect grill, 275 to 300 degrees, heat on both sides, working like an oven. You can do it on charcoal, you can do it on gas, you can do it on LP, you can do it on, that's all gas, I'm sorry, on charcoal, you can do it on wood, you can do it over a campfire. Heat to the side, chicken to the other side, not over the fire, and let her go long and slow, okay? Ends up with a perfect product every single time, all right? So next time I see you guys, we'll be making something different. Have a great and blessed day.